Hello everyone, thank you very much for coming this evening to our PCA talk. We're very honored to have Stéphanie Molinard, who is the program curator at La Maison Rouge, which is an art foundation, private, non-profit art foundation in Paris. If you haven't seen it, I think it's very important that you actually go there and soak in all the art and the exhibit and just the space, because it's a beautiful space. I went there with a couple of colleagues the other day, and we had the privilege to visit a room that not many people see, full of headdresses, and I'm sure that if you are a fashion student, this is quite an impressive collection to just admire. I'm not going to take too long in the presentation.
I try to do the same.
I'm very happy to welcome Stéphanie Molinard. Thank you very much for coming and to Paris College of Art.
Good evening, everybody. And first of all, thank you, Yasmin, for the invitation and for the opportunity to speak about the Maison Rouge, but also to try to, dépoussiérer my rusty English. So I apologize if I have some certain weird formulation. Please help me if something is not clear. Do ask me to reformulate. So what I want to do tonight is, first of all, an overall presentation of La Maison Rouge, who we are, what is the status, what is the particularity of this place. I'll then present what has made this place different, that is to say the programs of exhibitions, and how it really differentiates from other contemporary art venues in Paris. And then I want to focus on two exhibitions that really are particular of our place, that no other places could have done, and just explain a little bit this very special project. So, La Maison Rouge, some of you have been there. It's Boulevard de la Bastille. It's not a very frequent, it's not a place that you go to if you don't have a precise focus. Come to La Maison Rouge, it's not a place where you go and for a promenade. We are in front of the Bassin Arsenal. If you don't know this place, you have to go there. This is the only port in Paris, like boats. So, Boulevard de la Bastille. And as you can see, this is the name is La Maison Rouge. It's a house. So it's not, from the start you see, it's not a museum. It's a place belonging to someone. Someone greets you in his home, in his private house. And the red house, well, this is the little square that you see in the middle on the map. So it's quite strange when you come from the street, because it's just a normal habitation building. You don't see there is a museum. And then when you enter in, the space develops, but you don't really see where you're going. And just in the middle, there is this little red house that gave the name of the place. Here you have a view. When you enter, you have the red house, and that's the red house from the back, but really you can't see it. But that's the place that gave the name to the institution. And it was created so that this man who welcomes you in his house, this is Antoine de Galbert. Here you can see him, a long time ago, with a pair of slippers by Vindel-Roy. So he was in his 40s when he decided to do the foundation, and just turned 60, so this photo is an old one. And the story of Antoine is, he was a native of Grenoble, in the Dauphiné region, so southeast, middle of France in the east. And he had been working in Grenoble for many years in corporate management and financial analysis and this kind of things. He had studied at Sciences Po. And he had realized after some time that he was more drawn to art and creation than to management and business. And he decided to make profound changes in his life and dedicate his time to his passion, which is art, an artist, living artist. And so, without any training in art history, without any previous experience or contact in the art world, he was brave enough to open a gallery in Grenoble, which is not a place very well known for its contemporary art world, as you might have noticed. And he decided to present there in his gallery artists that he liked and that he wanted to support. But after 10 years, he realized, well, probably before 10 years, he realized that he was his best client, as he puts it. So he was really not good at selling and didn't make a change in the artist's life. And he decided to close the gallery. And in fact, Antoine was privileged enough to receive a major inheritance, important family inheritance in 1999. And that allowed him to go a step further into, putting, what do you say in American, putting your money where your head is, or
money in your mouth is.
Well, exactly. So he decided that he would move to Paris, because obviously Grenoble was not the place to do something big in contemporary art for him, and to create a foundation, like to dedicate an important part of his patrimony to his passion. Like he considered that when you are given money, when you inherit money, that gives you also obligations toward the public. And he decided, well, he thought about it a lot and decided that art patronage was the way he would give back to the community something he had received like randomly. So it was in the year 2000, and you have to replace this in the context of France in 2000. Like right now, funding is scarce. There's a lot of pressure to do collaboration between the private and the public. But in the years 2000, there was still little suspicion for private money. Historically, art is a state-funded business in France. And culture has always been a state matter for centuries. So France is a country full of museums and art centers and so on, and FRAC and BRAC and there. But there are, the domain of the Ministère de la Culture, and there is a strong presence of the state in the art world. So he managed to overcome this defiance between, first, a man coming from Grenoble that nobody knew. Like you also know that there's like the Parisians and the rest of France, and there's some kind of condescendence from the Parisian towards the rest of France. So there was that. There was the fact that he had a lot of money, which was suspicious for the government at the time, and plus somebody who wanted to do something that was not very developed at the time. So you have to think that private foundations almost don't exist or didn't exist in these years. I think that the only one of the same side, same kind that we can consider is the Saint-Paul de Vence, la Fondation Mag. But the rest of the foundations that you know in Paris, like Fondation Cartier, Fondation Descartes, they are company foundations. They are here to, for image reason, to promote the image of the business that they are supported by. So this kind of philanthropy, well, they do other, of course they do other things, but if Cartier decides tomorrow that he wants to close the Fondation Cartier and dedicate the money to, I don't know, horses, they can do it. They're not perpetual foundations, and they are linked to what the company decides to do. So Antoine was very specific about the status of the foundation he wanted to create. He didn't want to create precisely something that could, close, disappear. he wanted to create something perpetual. So the statutes that we have, no, that's after. The statutes that we have is a fondation privée reconnue d'utilité publique. That means it's private, it's perpetual, and it's for the benefit of the public. So this gives us obligation, this gives us also people who come to control what we do in terms of financial management and so on. And plus the money is, as he puts it, like déshérité, how do you say? Disinherited is kids in a way, because that's money that are not belonging to him anymore. It belongs to this foundation, which is under the Fondation de France, and he will not take it back. It's not his anymore. So he's the founder, he's the president. He comes here every day, but he's not. He could just disappear and go to the Bahamas, and that's it's not his baby anymore in terms of. So the way the foundation works is he has allocated a part of his money to an endowment. So it's more a kind of Anglo-Saxon model, much more developed in the US than in France. And so we function with the benefit from the endowment, plus other revenues, but the main envelope comes from that. And so the last aspect was he wanted to open a public space, so a place permanently open to the public. And the very last original thing is that he didn't want to show his collection. So it's a private collector opening a foundation, but in general, when you have private collector opening a foundation, is to show what he has, his collection. And he decided from the start that his collection was his private business, and that the foundation would be like an art center, an empty shell, where we would show different things, exhibitions, and I detail a little bit the program after, but not what he has. So it happens, but it's not the purpose of the collection. So, I was mentioning other collectors who have created foundations, like Fondation Symbole de Vence, is to show the MAG Foundation is to show the collection of the MAG. Or more recently, since 2004, a lot has happened in the art world, and I know you have more places initiated by art collectors, and I invite you to go and visit them, like Rosenblum and Friends in Paris, and you have other collectors who have open spaces now. So to create this place open to the public, he bought a disused factory in the center of Paris, so in Bastille. It's 2,000 square meters, and in the center, so you have this small, red house. So it's in bricks. It's not really red, but we painted it red. And during almost 4 years, so he decided to create the foundation in 2000, and the Maison Rouge opened in 2004. And there was 4 years of tractations with the government, because you have to do a lot of administration things to obtain the label of FRUP, Fondation Publique Reconnue, Fondation Privée Reconnue d'Utilité Publique, and then to hire the team and put a program and just make things happen. So this is what it looked like at the very beginning, and it's when you come, you'll see that it's different spaces that have been united, and they have very different fields and topologies. So he hired an architect, no star architect. There is no big gesture, architectural gesture. It's very modest in the way the renovation was done. He took somebody from Grenoble, an architect that he knew from Grenoble, and he just asked. The entrance was designed by Albert Rolla, but this is actually the second version, because for the 10th years anniversary we did we commissioned again to Jean-Michel Albert Rolla a new entrance. So that's the second project of Jean-Michel Albert Rolla. And so you have so very different spaces, a patio in the middle, which is the only source of natural light in the foundation, and really big spaces without any walls, and we build walls for each exhibition and redo scenography for each exhibition. And I put a photo of this room that Yasmin was mentioning. This is the only place where you have part of the collection of Antoine that is visible at la Maison Rouge. It's a headdresses collection. So he collects contemporary but also ethnographic objects and outsider art. And this is the part that you can see in the display cases in our conference room. And so in the middle, so our offices are above in the red house, and downstairs you have a restaurant, Rose Bakery, with the particularity that they change the decor every time they change the exhibition. So you know, this photo, it's an exhibition that every 3 months it changes. It can be absolutely completely different. Now we have like ceramic tiles in white and black, like metro, subway or kitchen. And there is a bookstore on the outside, and all those two are external. So now I'm coming to the program of exhibitions. So you can interrupt me if you want to just cut my flow of words, don't hesitate and ask questions. So the question was, okay, what are we going to do that is going to be different in this place? You have to think that in 2004 there was just 2 new spaces that had just opened, well, new or reopened. The Palais de Tokyo and Le Frac, Le Plateau. I don't know if you've been to those places. And they were just opened. So the idea was not to do the same, not to be in competition with them, but to try to offer something different that they could not or did not want to show. And because Antoine was a collector, Antoine and Paula, so he hired a team from the beginning, and so the director is the same since the beginning, it's Paula Eisenberg. And so they decided that what was interesting was to show to the public some things that they could not see in public institutions. And what they could not see is the private world of art collectors. So you know, Antoine would go into places of his collectors' friends and discover incredible things that you could not see in museums, because they are not yet in museums, or because museums are not interested, or there's no museum for that. So he thought that that could be the focus of La Maison Rouge, to show an ensemble of works gathered by private collectors with a very personal and original vision of art, a focus on works of art that are not in the public institution yet. Not people who buy and sell, not people who do money with art. So he didn't want to show collections of people who sell their whole collection in Sotheby's or Christie's. He really wanted to bring to the public eye things that are original, and show the universe of people who don't collect with their ears. So, who don't listen to anybody, who just collect with their eyes and their own subjectivity and sensibility. So the main words for this project were, freedom, intuition, impulsiveness, and all those, bad words that major institutions are compelled to stifle, because these are not, the kind of things that they have to listen. They have to track, trace a line and follow it. And we were allowed to do exactly the contrary, like show the people who go on the side and who are a little crazy and who are different. So every year, so we have 3 or 4 exhibitions per year. And every year, in the fall, at the moment of the FIAC, la Foire Internationale d'Art Contemporain, we present a private collection. And then we also do a monographic and thematic exhibition. I'll show some of them later. and exhibition courtyard. So the private shows, sorry. I will come back on this exhibition later because this is one of the two exhibitions I want to focus. It was called L'Intime, Le Collectionneur derrière la porte, and it was really, you know, the statement for the years to come. And so then every year we show different collections, so they can be, you know, this is from Germany, they can be from Mexico, from Italy, from Tasmania. We have artist collections, so for example this is the collection of Arnold Freiner, an artist who collects outsider art. We have very focused collections, like we have this collection of mono-channel videos, but we can have also, so they're very focused collections. Some collect, you know, only mono-channel videos, or only vinyl records by artists, or only photography. So in the fall, last fall, it was a collection of photography only, and other are more open. They, you know, mix old art with new art and outsider art with contemporary art. So this is kind of a quick overview. So that was from, you know, Mexico, and this is an artist collection, Jean-Jacques Lebel. So we've done already 2 artist collections, and there's another one coming in the fall, Hervé Di Rosa, with the exhibitionist collection. You know, vinyl from Foundation. This guy in the middle, it was incredible work from Cabinet Curiosité of the Renaissance that were mixed with contemporary art. An Italian collection. This was from the MoNA, the Museum of Old and New Art. I don't know if you heard about it in Tasmania. And so you have tapas, you know, fiber tapas on the walls, and then a Giacometti in front of an Egyptian sarcophagi. So, you know, these kind of things that can't happen in a museum, like, well, this sarcophagi was lent by somebody, a curator of the Louvre, very hand-lighted, because we couldn't bring it from Tasmania. It was too expensive to bring the sarcophagi, Egyptian sarcophagi from Tasmania. But, you know, he was thrilled that we do that. But he could not do that in the Louvre. So that's Molinard. And then the wall, I'll come back on this special project also at the end of my presentation. Outsider art, so from the beginning, Antoine has been very interested in outsider art and has been showing artists of outsider art on the same level as contemporary art, so without making any difference. And so this was an important collection. And that's the last fold, so the photography collection of Arthur Walker. So, you know, along the years, it's now the 40th, I can't read, I think it's the 40th. We've built up a collection of collectors. So we do catalogs for each exhibition. And this is kind of a gallery of portraits of different people and with different obsessions and different kind of approach to art. And so this is what is really special to our programming. And then we have, you know, as other venues, monographic and thematic exhibitions. The choice are always oriented by Antoine, that is really marked by his own subjectivity and his own tastes. And a lot of the pieces of the artists we show are part of his collection. So we borrow his works for our collection, for our exhibitions. But he's interested in very, very different things. So it can be really a wide array of artists. I try to tell you what we don't show in a way. So if I try to characterize these programs, we don't show very young artists. We don't do défrichage, like, you know, trying to get very young artists from an art school. This is more the field of Ballet Tokyo or Plateau also, there's that, but we are not in this, you know, trying to get an artist before the others. We are more focused on mid-career artists, and artists who have developed a career already, but for some reason are not super well known or not yet. So, for example, you know, Anne Hamilton, Dieter Appelt, Berlin de Brucker, where we showed her in 2005, and after that she represented, in 2013 she represented Belgium at the Venice Biennale, so proud. Again, with Heiner, Dieter Appelt, Michael Bormans. Well, you see they are not very well-known names, but they are, in our view, important artists. Henri Darger is an important outsider artist. A donation was made to the Musée d'Art Moderne last year, and there was an exhibition at Musée d'Art Moderne. And you know, we did this important monographic show in 2006. Or artists, like, you know, artists that contemporary artists know, like Tetsumi Kudo. A lot of artists know him, but the general public don't know very much his work. So, you know, we try to put into the light people who are not going to have, who won't have exhibitions in a major museums, because they're not, their names is not important enough to make people come. So me, Pilar Albarracin, Gregor Schneider, this is the kind of project that no institution could do, because Gregor Schneider wanted to do an exhibition for one visitor at a time. So that's what we did. But of course, when you do, so it was really incredible. You had to go in by your own, and you do all the exhibition by your own, without being able to speak to anybody, share impressions, or whatever. And of course, I mean, no institution can do that, because they have to have a certain number of visitors, and you know, it's crazy. It's only because Antoine decided that, okay, well, we do an exhibition for, we know that that is exhibition only, I don't know, 80 persons a day will be able to see it, and that's it. So it's just a decision that you make, and you stick to it. But so, you know, we have to do it, because the institution can't do it, so we do it. Patrick van Keckenberg, dialogues between contemporary art and outsider art. Well, it has no basis, like it has no scientific or academic basis to do this kind of exhibition. It's just an intuition, a visual thing. Like institution, they have to be a little bit more serious. You know, they have to produce, you know, text with from that, you know, knowledge and so on. But we can do just a visual thing if you want. And that was one of it. And actually, the artist that you see here, Tregwalder, when we proposed the subject, he said, well, I've always been totally into the art of Augustin Le Sage. I'm collecting it. How do you know? So that was kind of a incredible encounter. We rarely have big names, but sometimes we do, like Boltanski. It was a very small project about the archives of the heart. Like we recorded heartbeats for his library of heartbeats that he has in an island in Japan. Mika Rotenberg, you'll see her soon in Palais Tokyo. They're doing a big exhibition. It's absolutely fantastic, the artist. Well, we did Warhol, which is a big name, but we did a cable program that he did for the New York TV in the 80s. So nothing. Céleste Boursier-Mougenot, who represented France at the last Venice Biennale, so we're proud. That's the second one. Peter Huguenot, Xiao Sota, who represented Japan at the last Venice Biennale. So. Again, an artist, visitor, outsider art. The drawings you see here, they're done with the fingers in the 20s. He lived in not a mental, in kind of a retirement place for most of his life. Or younger artists like Joe Zonder. Oh, yeah, I didn't realize, but the drawing that you see here is done with fingerprints also. the wall drawings is done with fingerprints. Well, that was the very last ones. Again, so we have been, over the years, as we built up our reputation, as people discover us, and there's still a lot of people who need to discover us. I don't want to ask how many of you have been to La Maison Rouge, because I don't want to know the answer, but probably less than my fingers. So, have people come to see us. They come back and they propose us things, and we're building our reputation that way, because we don't put ads in the subway, or we are not, we are not very well known. So, but the professional world, begins to, after 10 years, they know us, and people come to propose to us projects, interesting projects. And so the thematic projects, that's really the exhibitions that we can't do by ourselves. I didn't mention that we are a staff of 11 people, among which 5 are part-time. So basically, the whole programming is 6 people. And so thematic exhibition, it's really, it's difficult for a small team like us. So very often, curators come to see us with projects, and they propose to us project, and then we help them, and we work with them. So we've had different kind of things that that's when I arrived at La Maison Rouge, actually. So it's art with a Russian institution that was difficult. And so we do, we're a small team. We're not supposed to do a references exhibition. We're not supposed to go, to cover a subject. When we tackle the subjects, we tackle them with modesty. We know that we're not Orsay, Le Louvre, or Le Grand Palais. So, we tend to take subjects that we think the other ones are not going to tackle. And so, for example, we did comics and contemporary art, because also this exhibition was at the junction between our focus on collectors and our focus on contemporary art, because you know that the drawings for the comics, for a long time they were just thrown away, because the final object, it was the album. So the drawings of the comics, how would you say, of the artist, they were thrown away. And only because some collectors got interested in that, they were saved. Some of them were saved. But in Paris, there's no museum of comics. There is one drawing by Hergé, who entered the collection of the MUNAM, like 8 years ago, and that's all. So if you want to see original drawings of comics, you have to go into private collections. So that was a subject that was at the junction of our two interests. Or also we do subjects that are a little touchy or difficult for institutions to do. So that was an exhibition about cannibalism in the contemporary art. Or visual art and psychotropics. The relation, works of art that have been made under influences or about influences of psychotropics. Okay. Or subjects that are very difficult also, like neon, it's like very fragile because it's in glass. The gas is toxic and it's high voltage. So this is basically a nightmare for an institution, like traveling those pieces, installing those pieces. It's really, really difficult. And so when you have a lot of people who have to be responsible, there's always somebody who says, no, I can't take responsibility for that. When you are 6 people, if the director says, okay, let's go for it, then you go for it. And it's easier to embrace things that are difficult, because we know it's easier to do it when you're small than when you're big. So everything went well with the neon, but it was a nightmare also because neon from the US didn't have the same voltage as the neon. Incredible, but some amazing PCA. So I'm glad we did it. And so the current one is a ceramic, art and ceramics from Molinard to Shooter, so until June 5th, so I invite you to come and see. Sorry. Oh, and I forgot, we do every 2 years, we do portrait of cities. The idea is that, you know, you have New York, Berlin, and places where you have fairs and biennales and commercial galleries and important places for contemporary art that everybody knows about. And then you have cities where a lot is going on and you've never heard about it. So we go to these cities. So the first one is Winnipeg in Manitoba. There is an incredible group of artists working there. Some of them are well known, some of them not, like Marcel Zana is or guy making the movie maker. And so the idea is we go to these cities, we meet, well I don't, like the director does, we meet all the art scene, artists, galleries, museums and so on, and we restitute a portrait of the city through the artists who live in this city. So it's not the whole scene of Winnipeg, it's only the ones who speak about their city and their life in the city. So then we did Joburg, Johannesburg in 2013, and the last one was Buenos Aires. And so we do, the catalogs are travel guides. They are in the same shape, the same kind of shiny paper, and they really have the shape of travel guides, and they are travel guides and art guides. And then we have the patio, so this place, you know, open space in the middle of the foundation. We commission artists to do pieces, so every cycle of exhibition we have a different commission, so, you know, I just show you some of them. This summer we're exhibiting again Nicolas Darro for a monographic retrospective exhibition. He does automats, like animated sculpture. So actually this ball that you see here would run all around the house and come back among the birds who were functioning when the ball was coming back. It was crazy. We had, you know, a cafe surrounded by birds. The birds are outside the cage. All kind of project we can't recognize, even that it's a foam wall. Okay, so around this exhibition, you asked the question before. We do, like all museum public programs, conferences, performances, all kind of, you know, guided tours and so on, kids programs, activities, well, you know, the normal stuff that museums do, and we also publish catalogs for each exhibition. Do you have any questions so far? Trying to go really fast so we can have a moment for question after. So after this overview, I want to just speak about two very important projects for us. The one for the opening and the one for the 10th years anniversary. So you know, I told you the idea is that okay, we are going to show what people can't see, things that are hidden from them, that are in private spheres. So the idea was to go and visit collectors and to ask them to lend the entire room of one room of their house. So it could be, you know, living room, bedroom, restroom, and we built wooden boxes, the exact size of the room, and we asked people to lend everything, like the rug, the photos of the kid, the furniture, the sofa, everything. So in a way, it was, okay, between the artist studio and the museum, there is a life of the works of art, which is a life in the private place of a collector. Well, if the artist is lucky enough, you know, he finishes in the museum, and in between, he goes into a private home. So we took 18 rooms. Most of the collectors were anonymous, but the entrance, the hallway that you see in the back was Antoine de Galbert. And some of them you could enter into them, some of them you would just have a view. So around the bastion, for example, you have 3 restrooms. Like collectors found a lot of stuff in their restrooms. So, the first one is actually the restroom of Antoine, with a lot of religious objects. And then you have another restroom with the Hila and Bernbecher series of photos. Believe me or not, this on the left, where there is a mummified saint, is a bedroom. You have a staircase here. On the left, what do you say, salle à manger, dining room, very of a designer collection. On the right, Italian collection that we exhibited after. I show you the Thematic. It was one of the collections that we exhibited after, and in 2004 we only showed one room. And we have the little pigeon that you see above the door there from Mauricio Catlan. Little stuffed pigeons. The one on the left, well, you will never see any other image of that, because the collector specifically asked that no image would ever circulate of what was inside. But I can tell you, it was a collection of reduced heads. Only the people who have, come to this exhibition know what was inside. I haven't been in this exhibition. I was not living in France at the moment, so I haven't seen. An office. So from the outside you would see boxes, and from the inside you would discover these natural habitats. So it was to put into the private sphere the private sphere of collectors. There was some game on the voyeurist tendency that all visitors have. Like when you go to an exhibition of Matisse or Picasso, when you see private collection, everybody wants to know, like, who has that in his living room? How is it hanged? Like, what is it like to have that above your sofa? So that was a way to answer. And also another reading of art, because, museums, they have to collect, to deliver a knowledge. They have to organize works of art by period, by, geography. You have to, when you go into a museum, you have to understand, and the objects are here to give you an idea of something that is not here too. Like you have to understand the periods when you go into a room of a group, it has to be coherent. But when you go to a private collector's place, like you have things that don't have anything to do, like ethnographic object with contemporary art, different periods intermingling, things that are very valuable and things that are a souvenir from your honeymoon with your wife in Venice. I mean, and those things work together, and there is coherence in that, because the subjectivity of the owner gives it a meaning. And so, so that was the idea, like to try to put into focus another vision of art, and allow also this approach of just pleasure and nonchalance, and not trying to have an agenda, to push an agenda, but just how you can be with the objects, and that's it. And so, strangely enough, it was more than 10 years ago, and nobody has ever copied this this display, which for me is very strange, because there have been other exhibition of collectors since then, and for the moment it has not been copied. And so the other project I will focus on is the wall, and this one nobody will be able to copy because it's way too complicated to be copied. So for the 10th years anniversary of La Maison Rouge, Antoine decided that it was time now to show extensively part of his collection. Sorry. But he didn't want to do it as the others do. Like, invite a curator who would make a selection. He really wanted to do it in a very original and radical way. So what he did is, and first he didn't want to invite somebody to look at his collection because, he's the one making the choices. He didn't want anybody else to come and tell him, what he was or what he collected. So he decided that there would be no choices because there would be no curators. He didn't want to build up a story. Whenever you do a selection, whenever you pick works, there's always this narrative dimension. Like, he bought early on this very artist that is super expensive, or there's always a narrative about the collector when you do a selection. So, on the contrary, he decided that he would show it all. Well, all it was not possible, but all the works in 2 dimensions or 3 dimensions that could be hung to the wall. All of them. That is to say, he wanted to lay himself bare without any filters of what he had bought in 2 dimensions for the last 30 years. So paintings, photography, drawings, neon signs, some 3D works like the big potato that you have seen on the image. Everything that could be hung on the wall was in the selection. And so it would be a diachronic portrait of him over the last 30 years, because there are things that he bought 30 years ago that he didn't like anymore, but that he didn't sell for many reasons. Everything would be there. The bad decisions, the bad choice, the good ones. And to take the model of neutrality to its furthest limits, he decided that there would be no choice in the way things were organized. So this is a view of what he does in his home, in his own place. But it's easy for a small surface. You just you take a nail and just try to fit things in. But when you have 1,200 works, it's not possible. So Antoine found a solution. He decided to entrust the hanging to a machine, that is to say to an algorithm. So we hired a mathematician to produce an optimization algorithm on the model of the Monte Carlo method. I don't know if that rings a bell to you, but that's what it is. And this algorithm, we asked him to find the best, the ultimate configuration, so that the maximum of works would fit in a ribbon of 3 meters high, and we didn't know at the beginning how many meters long, but at the end it was 267 meters long, I think. And so we fed the algorithm with the size of the frames, that's all. So it was really a blind curator, because he didn't know the medium, he didn't know the subject, he didn't know if it was famous artist, not famous, if it was video or neon. The curator, the algorithm, didn't know anything. And so he calculated, and it took a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to calculate. And in the end, he produced, the best configuration. We had to do a little adjustments, because, for example, if you hang the potato in a corner, then nobody could go into the corridor, things like that. So we had to, make small adjustments, but basically the computer decided all. And so what happened is that, well, that's how the idea came to Antoine. Like in the library, everything is alphabetical, and so you have, you know, Boltanski is next to, I don't know, Borromeo. And so they are random encounters, and things are organized, but they are organized in a way that make these encounters sometimes stupid, sometimes very... Everything was you know, fed and hanged randomly, and there were some incredible encounters. I mean, things that are, you can't believe that it was made on purpose. Like you would see a work with a cut head next to another one with a cut head, but you know, the computer couldn't know that. And so we had to reinvent everything we knew for this project. Like we have to reinvent the way we worked.
How is his personal library organized?
By alphabetical order. Documentary about the whole project. Somebody approached us and kind of videotaped all our meetings and everything from the start. So basically you can't hang 1,200 works like in a small amount of time normally. So we had to make a collaboration with Leica, who lent us a laser. So when the computer had produced all the ribbon, like, you know, we had an image of what it should look like. We fed the Leica laser, and it would, you know, each wall would appear on the screen, and then we would touch one work, and it would project a little red dot on the wall, and then we would take a sticker with an image of the work, so that the installer would know which work goes there. Because, I mean, or else it's just completely crazy. You can't hang 1,200 works just, you know, trying randomly. And so we had to reinvent. So that was a quick an acceleration of, you know, how it worked. But you have to see the documentary. We had to reinvent the way to identify the works. There's no way you can put object labels. Like there were some work were at 3 meters high, so, and plus there was no space, so people would not have been able to read anything. So we created touch screens and an app where the people could, you know, just put their fingers and then it would open the object label and, you know, find solutions so that artists would be credited, because that was the problem. Like, first of all, they were all mixed. Some of them were like, you know, 3 meters high. At least we had to put, you know, their names and information about the objects. We had to reinvent also the way we did the. So I'm going to show you some images. The results. So here the wall is pink because. This is a piece by Erwin Wurm, and the protocol of the work is that it has to be hanged on a bubblegum pink wall. So everything that was hanged on the same wall as this work had to be on pink. And then, yeah, this one is yellow because of a Claude Ruto piece that has to be hanged on a
Yeah.
So with the algorithm, I imagine there was where you can sort of click and it would reorganize things a million times over, no? I mean, there's really not just one way.
No, because, I mean, you can't do that because it takes hours for the computer to, like, it's true that we had to isolate, we couldn't do the whole ribbon at once. We had to isolate walls in a way, because or else it would have been never ending. So, you know, he would calculate, and when it seemed that it fits, then we would move to the next portion. Because, of course, there is not one wall of 278 meters in La Maison Rouge. We had to build, for example, you know, this wall, the white one, sorry, does not exist in La Maison Rouge. We had to build it because we needed surface to hang the things. But of course there are millions of configurations possible. And when you see how it's hanged, you can see that it's not hanged by somebody, because there are rules in hanging. Like you either decide that you align from the bottom or from the middle, or you cannot adjust one work with the other. And here it makes no sense. Like they're not centered in anything. It's really, really weird. Okay, so that's the ruteau. You see the ruteau next to Eugène Leroy. There is a closed ruteau, like a yellow monochrome. That's because of this piece that everything needed to be closed. Okay, and so we had to reinvent how to make a catalog, because Antoine wanted every work to be reproduced. And so, well, I'm just not telling you about all the steps, but we ended up doing a leporello, reproducing exactly the wall, and it's 27 meters long. The book is 27 meters long. And so you have on one side, you have all the images, and on the other side, you have the text. And you can actually read it from one side or from the other. Like, it's easy to read. It's not easy to see all the images, but it's easy to read.
Did you have to stick?
Yeah, it's done manually. Actually, that was also the very last catalogs were delivered after the show was closed, because it has to be done manually, and we did it in France, and it was the first that we received were not satisfying, because when you put it, it was like that. So.
Who did it?
Sorry?
Who did it?
So we did it with our historic editor, Phage Edition, and the façonnage was done by a company that I will not recommend, so don't need to do it.
Oh yeah? Why not?
Because it was too long and not precise enough.
They're from Grenoble?
They're not, I think they're in Ardèche, or, these kind of manual things. In France, you have a lot of association working with handicapped people who are doing
or prisoners.
or prisoners, but I think for this one it was more handicapped, and who are doing this manual works, and so they can do it very well, but it's super, super, super long. And so, well, the good thing is that, so the book is not épuisé, because, since we had it little by little during the exhibitions, you can still find it. And it's going to be soon a collector.
Is it big?
No, it's not big, it's like that.
No, but like height-wise.
Like that. Because the idea is that, I showed you the collection of collectors at the beginning, all the books. From the start, we decided that we would put the ego of all collectors in the same format. So every collector needs to get into the size of these books. And so this book also, and Antoine was no exception, he had to get into the size of the book. That's all, because it's a collection and there's no exception to that. So
the façonnage, you mean, did it have, because it's an accordion, it just was certain groupings of pages had to be put together, or how was it?
Yeah, we had to, like the graphic designer, Jocelyne Frachebout, had to, make.
Because it
we had
couldn't be printed
no,
on the
we
wall.
had the dimensions of the lettre de papier,
You have to have
and
over
so
that.
I don't remember, but I think we have, I don't know, I think it was maybe almost 6 pages, and we had to have glue every 6 pages, but you have to think very well where is the glue, is it on one side or on the other, so that the junction
So the
is not
images
on an image, but is on the text page, because there is one side image, one side text, so we didn't want the junction to be on the images. It was very, very, good for your brain, really. Plus, for me, the nightmare was that Okay, in the exhibition, you start with a wall. So you start the exhibition and then you unroll all the exhibition state. But in the book, it can't be the same way. It has to go backwards. Anyway. Oops, this is the end. So, yeah. So the visitors also had to reinvent the way they would visit. Well, we had to reinvent the way we would do guided tours. I mean, you know, the guys, I'm not going to ask them to know everything about 1,200 works. So what we decided is that we prepared tours, but that would be as random as the exhibition. For example, the subject would be all the works made by people, by artists named Jean or named Marie, or all the works with organic material, or things like that. And then before the visit, we would ask the visitors to pick up one paper, and then we would unfold and say, okay, well, you will have a visit about all the works, and she would only speak about the works made by Marie or whatever. So try to push the random thing to every aspect of the show. And then the visitors also had to learn, well, in fact, they appreciated a lot because they were the curators. Like when you have so many works in front of you, you are the one to select what you're looking at and what you want to know. And there is a lot of freedom because you don't know what you're looking at. You don't know if it's famous, not famous, it's expensive. So you allow yourself to watch the things just for what they are, just for what you see.
There was the marvelous idea about this exhibition. It was really, you felt empowered to go wherever you want, and the association of idea was fantastic.
Yeah.
And it could be very different from one person to another.
Of course. And you were free from this idea of like recognizing, because lots of things you didn't know them. Some artists are well known, but when they are mixed with so many things, your references are just confused. So it would, and so we were very surprised by the fact that everybody said, it's going to be terrible because you're not going to see anything. And in the end, strangely enough, it was very easy to focus. So this idea that, to see properly a work of art, it needs spaces, it needs to, to respirer and to have a special light and so on. Well, we made a try and it worked. Like it's not true. You can't see properly works of art in this totally bazaar. It works. So this is the end of my presentation. So I hope it will give you, the envy to come and visit la Maison Rouge. And we have many exciting projects to come. And all visitors are the only way we communicate in a way. Like you are our best advocates. So come, make an idea yourself, and come back and forth. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, because I visited the Maison Rouge. It's a small space.
It's okay.
Yeah, because I visited 3 times the Maison Rouge, and every time I was like punched by the intensity, the raw line of the creation. And because I have a lot of friends who work in the arts institution like Sangat, Tokyo, and Ito, the kind of and so on and so forth. But sometimes I just unconsciously compare of the vibe and the ambiance and the feelings. Because I feel like in terms of the complexity and the difficulty for the mise en scène, it's like something I can see in Palais Tokyo or Venice Biennale, for example. But I know these Cartier and Vuitton, I know they have a lot of money. And we all know where the money come from the brand come from the country. And And on top of that, they still make a lot of noise in the press, like marketing. But La Maison Rouge for me is very discreet. But you manage to make some exhibition very, for me it's very difficult to curate. So how do you manage this?
That's our, I mean, that's a very difficult equation, because this is because we are small and committed and efficient that we can do projects that seem difficult to do for such a small team. But it's also because we are small and not as well funded as most big institutions that whatever we do, we have a very limited area of reception. Like, you know, you people are interested in the arts and you are coming to exhibitions, but a lot of people have never been to La Maison Rouge or you know, have never even heard of it because we don't project. So I agree with you. Some of the projects we do could be done in other institutions. If they were done in Palais Tokyo, they would have a huge buzz.
Yes.
But we are small and we can't make the buzz. So
but you choose now to, or like
no, it's not that we choose not. We would love to have a buzz and much more people coming to our. It's just that, well, we have limited fundings, and all the money we have, we prefer to put it in the exhibition than, you know, in communication or something. Maybe it's an error. Maybe we should try just one show to do the contrary, like put everything in the communication to see if it works.
Yes, because for me, your exhibition, the making of the exhibition could be very expensive too. Because it's not only paintings, you have a lot of installation, you have to reform your space. So for me, it's very expensive. As expensive as what Vuitton can do. But same time, very discreet.
No, but it's true that we spend a lot of money. Like, you know, there are two big parts in our financial equilibrium. It's like the salaries and the exhibitions, and everything is put on the staff and the exhibitions. I mean, more in the exhibition than the staff, unfortunately. So, yeah, it's true. We dedicate a lot of money, and you have to consider that we don't have. There's no committee or there's no administration that asks us to, you know, to do a certain number of entrances. So it's true that sometimes it's crazy, like to put that much energy and money in projects that in the end, because we are so small, are not seen by enough people. Like, you know, if we were somebody else, our exhibition would have twice the public we have. But you're right.
But do you consider, like, for example, could you, like, did you ever consider, like, to make the collection of Antoine de Galbert, for example, travel somewhere else?
I mean, his collection is his own business. Like, it doesn't have, well, it has to do with us because it gives us you know, the line, artistic line and so on. It's very, his taste is very present in our programming. But it's not at La Maison Rouge. We're not benefiting when he lends it. It's really his own stuff. So he does exhibitions. He has done one, I think, in Berlin. He has done one in Musée des Beaux-Arts de Lyon. But this is not La Maison Rouge. This is Antoine de Galbert.
Okay. No, but what I was saying is, like, were you ever invited with your creation and your exhibition to?
Yeah,
to
we have been approached by some institutions, and so that's the thing that it's starting now. Like, for example, right now we have an exhibition with a national museum, like Cité de la Céramique. it's an institution, National Museum, and Bonnefontaine in Maastricht, and we have circulated some of our shows. So now we are recognized as equal partners for big institutions. That can help. For example, ceramics, we are not capable of doing that by ourselves. Impossible. We needed a co-producer to do it, or else we would never have done it. Because it would be a shame to do this subject that has not been addressed by other museums, and to not to be able to do it properly, because then the subject is doomed for the next 5 or 10 years. So if you do it, you have to do it properly. So alone, we would never have been able to do it. But it's difficult. It's the point that you're mentioning is difficult, because will we be the same if we grow? Can we keep this reactivity, and if we grow? I don't know.
Yes.
I think I'd like to suggest that we discuss more around our cocktail that is happening at the same time as an exhibit opening. I'd love to hear more about that. I had the same question as this traveling exhibit, because the curation, this randomness, and the mathematician is just, first of all, it's the first time I'm hearing about that, and it's just absolutely genius. But before we actually do so, I'm going to ask you this question that we ask all our guests, and that is to maybe tell us, or if this comes to mind very quickly, about a moment in your education that really changed your way of seeing or doing things. And when I mean education, doesn't need to be formal education. It could be anything that you've learned along the way.
Wow, that's a big question. You should have given it to me before. Well, I think, well, I have my mic. No, I remember, I can tell you about a moment where I discovered that I was interested in art, and that was like, I was in probably college, I was in troisième or something like that, and I went to see an exhibition about Spanish art in Petit Palais, and that was like Spanish art from the Moyen Age to contemporary art, and it was the first time in my life that I would see a work by Miro, and there was this mediatrice, this guide who tried to engage us and ask us questions, and I remember having things to say about this abstract work with red dots, and I can't remember which it was, but it was the first time that I was seeing something abstract, no narrative, nothing, and still I had stuff to say, and I could discuss with her about that, and it was like, wow. But then I forgot about art and went to it much later. But I think this, when I think about this moment, I think I felt entitled to express myself and to share about something that apparently was totally stranger to me. So really that was my point.
Yes, super. Thank you very much, Stephanie.